so it's like a very strange angle. Like, oh my god. Live chat. So weird. Wait, YouTube is live and I'm live from my iPad and it's so strange. Sorry. Oh my gosh. Also, it's like, I feel, you know how like your grandpa will FaceTime you like this? This is the angle I have on YouTube because I'm using my iPad. Ну то я живу в Нью-Йорку 11 років і я, в принципі, розмовляю англійською з 4 років, так що це не дивно, але дуже дякую. Oh my gosh. Yeah, so basically, yeah, that's weird because I've never done live on YouTube like from a device because I wasn't allowed to apparently, but also like I feel like I literally look like my grandpa. Anytime I FaceTime my grandpa, it's like half of his face. And so that's kind of the angle that I have on YouTube right now. So if you want to see me in the role of my grandpa, then, you know, you can see it on YouTube. Але Ігор, я давно живу в Сполучених Штатах і я розмовляю англійською, в принципі, з 4 років чи з 3 років, чогось такого. І я вивчила її від людини, яка розмовляла англійською, не розмовляла українською, тому якби я, це як одна з моїх перших мов. Тому багато кредит мені давати за це не треба, тому що я її не вчила, грубо кажучи. Also, I don't see if there is a chat on YouTube. So interesting. Oh my god. Wow. So interesting. Like if someone were to write a comment, what language is that? Kevin, it's Ukrainian. If someone were to write something in the YouTube chat, would I see it? Доброго вечора зі Львова. Знову новини. Зараз не новини. Зараз мені треба поміняти цей заголовок на chit-chat, тому що я в день деколи виходжу в лайв і просто розмовляю. You and that war right now. Well, first of all, it's not that war. It's name it. It's a Russian war against Ukraine. First of all. Second of all, no, I'm not in that war. Oh, hi. Okay, I see it. I'm not in the war because I am in the United States. And, Героям слава. I'm in the United States and I'm not in the war. My parents, however, live in Ukraine. They live in Lviv and they are, I guess, as you said, in that war. But also, genuinely, I wanted to ask for something. There is this thing online where people just call it that war, the situation in Ukraine, the conflict, the thing in Ukraine, the events in Ukraine. Please call it what it is. It's the war in Ukraine. And it's Russian war against Ukrainians. Привет, Yulia. It would be U, like that letter that's kind of like an O with a dash and with a slash. So it's U, then L. Thank you, Jennifer. Then L, like the little, just kind of like top up sign. And Ya is the reverse R, so that's Yulia. Has there been a war in Ukraine since 2014? Yes, Russia attacked Ukraine and occupied certain regions of Donbass in 2014, and there has been a war there ever since. And then in 2022, on February 24th, Russia started a full-scale invasion of our country. So yes, there is that. How about Ukrainians living in Transnistria? What about them? What about them? Is there a name for this war? Seems NATO and Russia keeps calling it a conflict. It's Russian war against Ukraine. There is no it's not like, oh, the Winter War or something like that. It's literally Russian invasion of Ukraine, Russian aggression against Ukraine, full-scale invasion of Russia into Ukraine, Russian war against Ukraine. You can call it a lot of things, but it's really important to call it what it is, and it's important to give it a name that condemns Russia for what they're doing. Hi, Tammy. So it's extremely important to not call it like the situation in Ukraine, the conflict in Ukraine. Thank you so much. It's really important to not call it like that thing in Ukraine or the events in Ukraine. It's really important to not make it ambiguous. It's really important to make it, it's really important to give it a name that it does have, and it's Russian aggression against Ukraine, Russian war against Ukraine, Russian invasion of Ukraine, full-scale Russian invasion of Ukraine, criminal genocidal Russian invasion. Actually, no. See, can someone... So one of the things that I really like doing is, for people on YouTube and for people on TikTok, I wanted to ask you guys for a favor. So questions like, are Belarusian citizens just as complicit as Russian citizens? For YouTube particularly, if we turn on live comments, right, and somebody rewatches it later, if you comment that and I pin it, then when someone rewatches it, it'll show up on their screen as something that we're discussing, which I think is helpful. So if somebody wanted to put that question into YouTube chat, I'll pin it because I do want to answer it. So are Belarusian citizens just as complicit as Russian citizens? No. And the reason for that is quite not simple, but I will try to explain it as shortly as I can, basically. So Belarusian people have had this dictatorship for 30 years. Lukashenko has been a dictator for 30 years. Oh, I don't know why. 1 second. Huh. Weird. I can usually pin it on my normal YouTube, but I can't pin it on a tablet. That's so strange. What the heck? Non-top chat, some messages such as potential may not be visible. Let's see. Oh, okay. So at least I have this. All right. Yeah, I can't pin it. Weird. Thank you, Brenda. Okay, so basically what I was gonna say is Belarusian resistance and Russian resistance are two different things. So Belarusian people have had a dictatorship for 30 years, which, I mean, similar to Russians, you know, it's been almost 20. But Belarusian dictator Lukashenko is Putin proxy, and he has always been a proxy of Russia, right? The only reason he is in power is because Russia keeps him there, and Russia has been helping him. Now, Belarusian people in 2020 have come out on the streets similar to what Maidan was like in Ukraine, to form a revolution, because they had a democratically elected and favored leader. So his name was Tikhanovsky. He was arrested by Lukashenko and he was in jail. So his wife took over his work and she decided to run for president. It was very clear that she had garnered more votes and that she was favored and that she should win. Now, Lukashenko said that he won with like 90% support or something crazy like that, which is not even close to reality. And so Belarusian people revolted. There were gigantic, huge protests in Belarus during 2020. Like bloody. People were beaten, people were thrown to jail, people were shot at. The militia and the police and like the armed forces were all on the streets, like hunting people down. People were prosecuted. People were basically the same thing as Maidan happened, and they almost managed to overthrow the government. Like, they were this close, but unfortunately the protests got squashed and Lukashenko stayed in power. Since then, Belarusian people have been forming partisan resistance, because it's not like they just decided, oh no, there is nothing we can do about this, so we're just gonna go sit at home and we're gonna like not do anything. They figured that, okay, if they can't take the government down by force, then there has to be another way to take Lukashenko down and bring him out of power. And so they formed partisan resistance, and their partisan resistance is ridiculously strong. They have been doing multiple like actions in terms of like not recruiting, but like explaining to more people in Belarus why Lukashenko is bad, how to take him down, what they can do. And it's been going on for the last 2 years. When the invasion of Ukraine started, Belarusian troops were supposed to go into Ukraine. Belarusian troops were supposed to go into Ukraine. But they, in a dictatorship, so for all of those of you who were like, oh, Russian troops, they had no choice, they didn't know where they were going, they couldn't come, they couldn't resist, it's a dictatorship, blah, blah, blah. Like, Belarusian troops in a dictatorship literally said, no, we're not going to go to war in Ukraine. We're not going to be killing Ukrainians. We're not going to be attacking Ukraine. And if you send us there, we're going to literally give up. We're going to surrender at the border. And Lukashenko is not trying to screw with that because he knows that the second that he sends the military out of the country, and the second that these troops walk into Ukraine, he's done for. Because Belarusian people basically said that if he's going to try and invade Ukraine, they're going to storm the government. So also I figured maybe we could do something similar to what John Aravosis does. John Aravosis inspired, when we have a Ukrainian in the chat, maybe we can send them either sunflowers or we can send them Ukrainian colors, our colors, or we can send them blue and yellow hearts, or we can send them basically Ukrainian flags or something. Thank you. I think but I definitely, all of the credit for that is to John Aravosis, because he does this very nice gesture every time there is a Ukrainian person in the chat. Привіт, привіт! Hi Ukraine! Привіт, привіт! Я також з України, я зі Львова. Kat, if you're still here, and you see that person with an armpit comment, you can feel free to boot them. But basically, so basically Belarusian people had large, very, very, very large resistance. And they still have large resistance. Так, я зі Львова, я народилася і виросла у Львові, мої батьки зараз у Львові. Я єдина людина в моїй родині, яка не є в Україні. Чому всі завжди так дивуються з цього? But so yeah, so basically, what was I saying? So thank you for listening, but I'm not even done explaining yet. So basically, Belarusian people formed a really large resistance. Now, when Russian troops were sending their munitions towards the Belarusian border with Ukraine, Belarusian partisans were blowing up railroads. They were blowing up railroads in order for Russian munitions to not reach the border with Ukraine. They have been doing a lot of that kind of stuff. And so it's like, Russians saying like, oh, we protested. It's like, no, you did not. First of all. Second of all, like, I'm going to get into why Russian resistance is not nearly anything the same as Belarusian resistance. So Belarusian people, first of all, Belarusian army said, no, we're not going into Ukraine. Again, it's a dictatorship too. But if you remember, if you think about something, the army is armed. So if your dictator says something to you and you decide that you don't want to listen to him anymore, you are the one with weapons. So this like whole thing of like, oh, it's a dictatorship. Like, no, technically, if the army is against your dictator, the dictator is done and spoken for. Belarusian army said, no, we're not going to Ukraine. If you're going to like forcefully send us there, we're going to surrender at the border. Belarusian captains and all of their former like Belarusian captains who are very well respected all recorded YouTube videos through their channels called Nechta, which is like independent Belarusian media that's like hiding out in Lithuania because they were banned. And they recorded videos talking to their military being like, if you are still not sure what to do, surrender. You're not going there. Like, there is no reason to fight Ukrainians. So they have had extreme resistance. Also, they're like their opposition leaders are working really hard in order to A, fix the situation in Belarus, the dictatorship situation, and B, not let them do anything to Ukraine or aid Russia. Hello, Yulia. Hi. So now, on to Russian resistance. Russian resistance is, I did some research. 15,000 people were arrested for protesting in Russia. And I mean, like, I'm not saying protesting the war, it's just in that time period, from February 24th to now, 15,000 people were arrested, presumably for protests against the war in Ukraine. And that would make it 0.0017% of Russians, because 15,000 people out of 140 million is nothing. It is literally nothing. And then even if, so like let's say 15,000 were arrested, I very often hear an argument, well, like not all of them were arrested. Okay, so let's say 100,000 people protested, 200,000 people protested. That's not even 1% of Russians. Not even 1%. And the difference between Ukrainians, Russians, and Belarusians in terms of resistance is like, okay, so Russians came out on the streets, they got slapped in the face, right? They got arrested, they were uncomfortable. Like the police, I don't know, the police like basically, the police basically told them, like, oh, we're gonna beat you up, we're gonna prosecute you, we're gonna do this, and Russians were like, oopsie doopsie, well, we're not gonna come back on the streets and we're not gonna protest anymore because we're scared. And their whole thing is like, oh, we can't change anything, oh, we can't come out on the streets because we're being beaten, we're being this, we don't want to come out on the streets, we are scared of being, we're scared for our safety, we cannot come out on the streets because our safety. And it's like, okay, yes, that's exactly the point. Your safety is more important to you than people dying in Ukraine. Your safety is more important to you than your own freedom. Your safety is more important to you than your future. Because you can't just sit at home and not like the war and not like the government and just be like, oh, I'm just scared, and then like hope for the best. It's like, no, freedom doesn't come free. Freedom doesn't come easy. You gotta fight for it, and you gotta come out of your comfort zone. Belarusian people, when people were being beaten by the police, more people would come out. In Ukraine, when people were beaten by the police, more people would come out. Look at Maidan. Look at Euromaidan. Euromaidan in like the 2014 revolution, right? In Russia, people get beaten, people stop coming out. And that's a huge difference. And a lot of people are saying, well, there are more people in Russia that are against the war, they're just scared to come out. That's the whole point. Those people don't count. It doesn't matter what they're against. I could be sitting on my couch and be like, oh, I'm against violence in Venezuela. Am I doing something? Is it gonna change anything in Venezuela? Is it gonna change Maduro? No, it's not. Like, you know, the Germans who were in Germany against Hitler sat at home and didn't do anything because they were scared. Did that change the fact that millions of Jews were prosecuted? No. And then Russians tell me things like, well, we are being hated. Europe hates us. And it's awful because there's hatred to Russians and like blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that you have to go through being hated. Ukrainians are dying. And they're like, we fled our country because it wasn't safe to be there. What did you want us to do? It's like, exactly. You're rats running away from a sinking ship. You know? So that's the whole point. Whereas, like, it doesn't matter. Like, people's argument of there are more Russians against the war than they show is is like a stupid argument, you know, because yes, sure, if there are Russians who are against the war and they're not doing anything because they would rather watch us die than be unsafe, then that's even worse. And that shows you the whole outlook of a nation. And then, like, I keep having these Russians right now, and I wanted to include that in the video that I did about not all Russians. I have two things that I think that are very important that I wanted to like tell you guys. One is, so I have a lot of these Russians who tell me that, well, there is this baseless hatred of all Russians, and not all of them, thank you, and not all of us are bad, and now we have to explain ourselves to people in Europe before, so they form the correct opinion of us, because when they see that we are Russian, they just automatically hate us, and we have to spend like 30 to 60 minutes explaining to them like why we're not bad and that we're good Russians and stuff like that. And like they want me to sympathize with that, right? Thank you so much. They want me to sympathize with that. So newsflash, as a Ukrainian person living in the United States, my whole life, when I would meet a person and my like, I don't know, like a little bit of an accent would come out, like something would happen, they'd be like, where are you from? And I would be like, oh, I'm Ukrainian. And people would be like, oh, Russian, right? And so automatically all of the stereotypes of gold digger, looking for a rich husband, looking for a green card, looking for this, looking for that, looking for the third, for the fourth, for the fifth, like, oh, is your dad like in mafia? Oh, what does your dad do? Oh, like, what does your mom look like? Is she like does she have like big lips and all this stuff? And it's like, people would form their opinions of me based on me saying I'm Ukrainian, based on the stereotypes they have about Russia. And I, and every single Ukrainian, would have to then spend 30 to 60 minutes explaining to them, no, I'm not Russian, I'm Ukrainian. These are not stereotypes about us to begin with. Second of all, we have full equality between men and women, so our women do not need rich husbands because we actually get equal pay and we are pretty driven and we work. And most Ukrainian women have pretty successful careers. Nobody's coming here to look for a green card or for a rich husband or for a husband in general, because in Ukraine, we don't get married off at fucking 16. And our fathers tell us that we can accomplish anything that we want rather than that. And so you would have to stand there and you would have to explain the differences between Ukraine and Russia and then hope that this person doesn't go like, ah, yeah, it's the same thing. So I am so not sorry that Russians, for the first time in their life, feel the same way that Ukrainians, Belarusians, Kazakh people, Georgians, Lithuanians, Latvians, every single Eastern European has felt for the last like 100 years. So when they complain about people forming their opinions about them before they even speak because they're Russian, it's like, well, welcome to the club, dude. Welcome to the club. Because at least, you know, people form an opinion about you based on what your nation is doing and based on the fact that you are spending more time advocating for being not all Russians than you are for helping Ukraine. And you are basically showing why people treat you that way. Well, but see, Ukrainian mail order bride market is not like that. The only reason that you see the whole Ukrainian mail order bride things is because of a couple of TV shows. Like the 90-Day Fiancé or something like that. They took these girls and they started putting them like, oh, Ukrainian girl, Ukrainian girl. Then there is a lot of TV shows, like especially police TV shows. They now like to say not, oh, Russian prostitute, oh, not Russian hooker. They call them Ukrainian. When they show you mafia guys, they're now Ukrainian. They're not Russian anymore. Since 2014, they're freaking Ukrainian. And that influences your perception. Not the reality of things. Like, yes, there are girls from Ukrainian villages that are on like these websites to meet husbands. There are girls like that everywhere. There are girls like that in France, in Germany, in England, in freaking, I don't know, in Serbia, in Slovakia, in Italy. There are girls like that everywhere. Ukraine doesn't have a larger than most population of like girls who are looking for a foreign husband. Like, we don't. especially not recently. Yeah, in the 90s, for sure, 100%. But that's the whole point, that, you know, Ukraine under Soviet Union got corrupt. Russian authorities had destroyed our country, and they continuously kept destroying it. But once in 2014, after the revolution, after everything started changing, people started like actually working towards our country being better, because this is the Ukraine that we all know and love. This is the Ukraine from history books. This is the democratic Ukraine. This is the Ukraine that gives everybody freedom of speech. This is the Ukraine that cares about its citizens. Ukraine had really, really turned around in the last like 8 years. Hi. And like, it's just really like upsetting that people consistently keep like putting these Russian stereotypes, especially of like mail order brides and stuff like that, onto us, because that's not true. Like, our women are not being told to marry well. Our women are not being like sent off to like some rich dude by their fathers. Like, every single girl I know, their dad has always told them, you can rock the world. You can move mountains. Like, my dad raised me saying, hey, you can do anything that you feel like you want to, and you can accomplish anything that you want to. You just gotta try. Yeah, that's the whole thing. Like, Ukraine is a European nation. No, Ukraine was not economically better under Yanukovych. It's just that here's the thing, like, people who don't understand how economics works like to compare what Ukraine was like before 2014 versus after. We had a revolution and our president fled. We didn't have a government for like a time being. We had a default, basically. Our currency deflated. Of course, Ukraine still has trouble climbing out from that because it was a revolution. The president fled. There is economy tanks in events like that. And then it takes time to rebuild it. And we were rebuilding it for a little bit, then COVID, then the war. So of course, if you just look at plain facts, the Ukrainian economy was better in 2014, sure. But if you look at it from a perspective of context, no. I'm sorry. You come from a perspective of having money and a good family. No, well, I mean, most of my friends in Ukraine did not have money or good families, because for a very long time, my friends were not from my school or from like my circle or from like whatever. And I have a variety of very different friends also in my school. Not everybody was like from a good family. And no, like, yes, maybe in deep villages, it's important to get married off. But in most cities, no, it isn't. It doesn't matter whether you're whether you are wealthy or not wealthy. Like, most Ukrainian girls go to college. Most Ukrainian girls have ambition. Most Ukrainian girls have jobs. Most Ukrainian girls have good jobs. Like, I mean, you can invite me and I'll come speak. Hi, Soap. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to... Oh, hi, Jen. Hi, Jen. Good to see you here. And somebody asked me if I had... Yes, because I'm on my iPad, Nazar. I'm sorry. Is there a reason we can... Yes, I'm a grandpa, Nazar. That's why. So... Basically, somebody asked me if I had a positive opinion of Russia until 2014, before 2014 invasion. No, I did not. First of all, my grandparents moved from Russia when they were like babies. Thank you so much. When they were like 4 and 5. Привет, Litva. When they were like 4 and 5 years old. And my grandparents were very vocal about what a garbage show Russia and Soviet Union was. So my grandparents, who are actually technically Russian, they're Russian born, they were very against Russia. My dad was very against Russia, and not in a way where like Russians are bad, no. Like in a way where my dad is very economically and politically aware. and he knew that Russia was abusing us, and he knew that Russia was stealing our, like basically making us pay ridiculous amounts of money for gas, that Russia was controlling our government, Russia was installing puppet governments. He knew that like the reason why the country is corrupt and why democracy is being like challenged is because of Russia and Russian influences and stuff like that. He knew that our politicians cared more to make money in Russia from their masters than to like evolve Ukraine. My dad is a businessman. He's a very forward-thinking man. He's like an idea incubator, and so he was always explaining all of these things. He was like always thinking. He was always telling me about all of these things, and he was always like educating me on it. So no, I did not have a good opinion of Russia prior to 2014 invasion. And also one of the reasons why I had a really bad opinion of Russia is because one time I had a misfortune of taking a flight from New York to Kyiv, and it was a flight through Moscow because the cheapest airline was Aeroflot, which is Russian Airlines, and I had to buy that flight because it was like a last minute flight, and it was like $700 to begin with, and everything else was like over $1,000. And so I got that flight, and I got off at Domodedovo Airport or Sheremetyevo Airport in Moscow, I don't remember, and that was my transfer. That was my layover, and I remember just like walking around. And I remember just walking around and listening to people, and just kind of like how people were acting towards me and stuff like that. And also, a sandwich was $35. $35. A sandwich at an airport was $35, and I come from JFK, by the way, where everything is ridiculously expensive, and I complain every single time, but I buy it anyway because it's an airport, you know? But it's like at JFK, a sandwich is $15 or $17.20 sometimes. $35 for a sandwich in Moscow. And they did not have a panini press to make it warm, so it was a disgusting stale sandwich for $35. Yeah. And also because like every time that I would go to, I also learned history. Literally, I learned history, and I knew history very well. The more I got into history, the more I understood like what Russia was like doing to Ukraine. But it's like I didn't necessarily like it wasn't like, oh, Russians bad. But you know, like as in like I just didn't want Russia to have anything to do with Ukraine. And then when I moved to New York, that's when I understood that I don't want to have any Russian friends. I don't want to have anything to do with Russia. I was never hateful towards Russia, but it's like I've met a lot of Russian people here, and I've met a lot of people in Brighton Beach. I went to Brighton Beach because it was like it's like an Eastern European neighborhood, right? It's a Soviet Union 2.0, like literally still stuck there. And I just like saw how people communicate, people's attitudes. I met a couple of like Russians, and they would jokingly be like, Chachlushka, right? And it's like that's the derogatory word. That's the equivalent of the N word for Ukrainians coming from Russians. And I would be like, dude, like don't call me that. It's not funny. And they're like, no, it's funny. It's just like, oh, I'm just joking. And then the way that they were talking about Ukraine, the way that they kept telling me that we don't have our own language, the way that they kept telling me that I should just stop like explaining to everybody that I'm Ukrainian. What's the difference? It's just like, oh my god, just say you're Russian. Like, why? It's so like, I mean, come on, you're just being so annoying. Like, you don't have to explain to every single person that you're from Ukraine. Like, just say Russia, just say Russia, just say Russia. And I was just like, that's so gross. It's like anytime I would have an experience with Russian people, I would just want to like take a shower, like get in there and never get out. And it was disgusting. And so I don't have any, like, I've never had any Russian friends, especially like immigrants from Russia. I have a couple of Russian American friends, and they're about as Russian as like I am French. Like their great grandparents or grandparents came from Russia, and they literally like maybe speak some Russian. Some of them don't really read really well. And they, I know them through my husband. It so happened that like they were his best friends in high school. And that's our like group of people, but they're all extremely pro-Ukrainian, and well, one of them is actually Ukrainian. His family is from Odessa. Two of them are from, like, their families are from Russia, but they are not, like, they don't support Russia in anything. Like, their parents have never been to Russia. They have never been to Russia. They literally like Russian as an ethnicity, you know. But yes. So there is that, and yeah, I've never anytime, you know, like, it's funny because I realized that any time that I would hear, like, when I was in college, there's this thing that if you're Eastern European, for some reason, if somebody hears that you're Eastern European, people just, like, start coming up to you and forming, like, a friendship with you. And again, very different mentalities. Anytime in college I would hear Russian speech and they would hear that my name is Yulia and automatically assume I speak Russian, right? They would come up to me and be like, "Привет!" And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry, I don't speak Russian. My parents just called me Yulia." Like, they just like the name. Because I didn't want to deal with it. Like, I didn't want to have, like, this flock of Russian girlfriends who were, like, talking about men and boyfriends and, like, whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just not my thing. So, yeah. I've had some experiences with, like, Russians in America, and I was like, haha, no, not my thing. And it's not even that I'm, like, judging the whole nation. It's just that the majority of them literally say, "Oh, it doesn't matter, you're just Russian." Yeah, a lot of people are in that position. Ukrainian wasn't, like, a widespread language until recently. Yeah, that's another thing. Like, yes, Russians form cliquies. Like, they're very cliquey. Привет, 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 Kiev. Oh, hi, Schultz. Oh my god, I've missed you. I haven't seen you for a while. I saw you on Jonah Ravos' stream the other day, and I was like, hello! But I don't think you saw me. Really good to see you here. Thank you. Genuinely very happy to see you here, because I was like, where have you been? Oh, hi. Oh, wow. There are a lot of original people here, and by original I mean, like, people who have been here since the beginning. I started transitioning to Ukrainian, but my Ukrainian friends laugh at my accent. I mean, it's not difficult. I'm just gonna say that, you know, in Russian, O's are mostly pronounced as A. In Ukrainian, you read it the way you write it. So it's like, if it says korova, it's korova. He's American. I mean, he's, like, ethnically, like, Japanese, Brazilian, a bit of Irish, but he is American. Oh, you still sound. Oh no. Well, so here's a good tip. Like, if you speak English, right, and you want to read something in Ukrainian, yeah, it's like you read it the way you write it. You kind of just, like, if it says moloko, it's moloko. If it says korova, it's korova. You don't have to make up sounds, right? And one of the things that I was saying to my Russian-speaking friends who want to learn Ukrainian, and I mean, like, as in Ukrainians who speak Russian, it's like, if you feel like you don't know how to pronounce something in Ukrainian versus in Russian, think about it in English. Like, if you were an English speaker and you were trying to read that word, like, let's say korova, right? It'd be like korova, right? That is closer to what it sounds like in Ukrainian than korova. So there you go. Yeah, Ukrainian armed forces are pushing through to Kherson for sure. Informal by is papa. Informal by is papa. So, like, papa, right? Like, papa in Spanish, or like papa. But so it's papa as in, like, bye-bye. Or you can just say pa. Papa. Yeah. So, or you can just say pa. Like, pa. Прошу, немає за що. Yeah, I hope Ukraine retakes Kherson, because Kherson is struggling under Russian occupation. Um, yeah, that's the plan. The plan is that we're doing another talk with Natalia on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern and 9 p.m. Kyiv time. It's going to be a live again with a Ukrainian historian who used to be my history teacher, and she's amazing. And we're going to be talking about history of Donbass. If you go over to my YouTube channel, the live is already there as upcoming. Also, oh my gosh, I wanted to ask you guys for opinions. So I know it's so stupid, but like as a graphic designer, I really, oh, Oля, that Olga girl is the host. She's from Donetsk. And so I figured there's no better person to host. So it's 2 p.m. Eastern Standard and 9 p.m. Kyiv time on Saturday. And so, Юля, в тебе дуже маленька, бо в тебе дуже велика чашка. Чашка велика, але я маленька. Я 1,60 м в хороший день. But so what I was going to say is that Olga girl is going to be the co-host. So last week it was John Aravosis, and this week is going to be the Olga girl because she's from Donetsk, and I just really wanted her to co-host, and she like graciously agreed because she's from Donetsk. Like who better to co-host than like a Donbass native, you know? And so yeah, so it's gonna be her. The live is already posted as upcoming on my YouTube channel. And so as a graphic designer, right, I really worry about my thumbnails. Like I really want them to be good. I really want them to look nice. And so I changed my thumbnail for the news. Again, first of all, I realized I went on other people's YouTube channels and I realized that nobody has repeat thumbnails. So at first I was like, okay, I'm just gonna change backgrounds. And then I saw, oh, I have Photoshop and Illustrator and the whole Adobe suite because I have it since since I work in that. But no, so the lives with the historian are on YouTube, not on TikTok. But no one better than Olga, yeah. And reason for that is first off, there is a program where people join in and like the screen is split in 3 and you can't do that on TikTok. Yes, her name is that Olga girl on TikTok. So basically, so for those of you who do know my YouTube, or for those of you who do go on my YouTube, which thumbnails do you like better? The previous ones? The name on YouTube is Yulia Ukrainian American Spy, but if you look up Yulia, I should come up. Also, easier to find me through if you go on my TikTok profile, there is a YouTube button there next to message or follow, and under my profile picture basically, and you can just click on that and it'll bring you there. Yes, I know that you can have guest windows, but basically like my history teacher doesn't have a TikTok, so she's not gonna create a TikTok to become a guest. I have software that transmits it to like a YouTube stream in a particular way, and that's why it's more complicated than that. So basically, YouTube is what it's gonna have to be. But I heard you pronounce it like my English teacher at university told me that I should pronounce worry as vary, not worry. No, so if you're speaking about English, like UK English, then it's worry. And if you're talking about American English, it's worry. Or like it's different. I mean, it's similar, but no, it's not worry. It's not worry. It's worry. Don't worry. Hi, Romania. But yeah, so yes. This is what it is. Thank you. This is my YouTube channel. Pinned over here. But also, so what I was gonna say is, do you guys think, and this is just sort of like because I trust your opinion and I just want to know, do you think the old thumbnail for lives was better, or do you think the new thumbnail for lives is better? And I'm not talking about the one with Cindy and me, I'm talking about the one that says upcoming for tonight, and then the one where like I'm like this. Because I definitely do know that I'm gonna change photos of me for every single thumbnail, because I looked at other people's YouTube channels And if it like looks too repetitive, then people just don't click into it. And it just like everybody always has like different whatever. And so yeah, and so I wanted to see. Yeah, it's just like kind of, you know, it's nothing super important. It's just me asking for your opinion and what you prefer. Because yesterday during the evening, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know about my thumbnail. I want to like change it. Stray Brownie has lovely style thumbnails. I like the new one, new. Because the idea is that the new one is going to have a different color also every time. Posed, new. Is the new one looks like news with Yulia. Ruling is new. Okay, alright, so we're gonna keep the new one. Gotcha. But it's not even like, I mean the style of the thumbnail, because the photo is gonna change each time, because I realized that like if it looks the same every time, then it looks like the same live, or like the same, you know what I'm saying? As in like, I will change the color every time, and I'll slightly change the picture every time, so you can at least like differentiate that it's a different live. But yeah, but I think it's probably gonna be head on most of the time, and I mean like the design of behind me, you know, I think that that's what I was mostly asking about. Yeah, I hope that the collaborator mayor person is going to be yeah, I figured. Generic images. I do. I have. Well, that's like the thing. I have Creative Market. Creative Market is this awesome platform that has a lot of resources for graphic designers. I mean, they're not free, but it's like people basically make them up. And actually, these yesterday when I was looking for generic backgrounds and like a particular style that I like, I found a girl. Well, the first shop that I clicked on that was selling like backgrounds, posters that I liked. It was called Pamyatka, and it was a Ukrainian shop. And I was like, oh my god, yes, take my money. And it was like $15, but it's a whole folder of different backgrounds, and they're usually better quality. So it's like, as a graphic designer, one thing that I will spend money on is graphics, because I think that well, first of all, it took somebody time to really like draw them and make them up, and second of all, like if I don't download them from like some crappy website, they're gonna be better quality, they're gonna be better resolution and stuff like that. So I usually look for things in Creative Market, and my like top is I'm not gonna pay more than $18. Yeah, and it's like, that's the thing, like it's $15, and it's like a folder full of different backgrounds, as in like, I mean, there are, I think, 25 from like one style, 25 from another style, 25 from a combined style, then there is a folder with like a different style, then it's just like, it was like a compilation for artists, and like usually these shops will have like $20, and you can buy all of their sort of like all of their varieties of like different prints. Ні, я не завжди стрімлю, ти просто так на мене випадаєш. And татусь добре, він щойно дзвонив, тому я скоро маю вийти з ефіру. Я теж хотів так би розмовляти англійською, підкажіть, будь ласка, як цього добитися. Я не знаю, тому що я говорю англійською з 4 років, я вчила англійську у англічанки у Львові, правда, і це переїхати в США. Ні, ну то я ж з дитинства розмовляю англійською. Макс, дякую за підказку, але я з дитинства розмовляю англійською. Тому but yeah, so yeah, basically, like, I don't know. And also Nastya, one of the moderators, Nastyanka is her name, you see her here very often, so she's a product designer as well, and she's been helping me with designs. She's actually behind the original design of the thumbnail, and she's a genius. She's very nice, and I genuinely, like, she's very good at the types of design that I'm horrible at. So I'm so grateful for her, and she's super talented. And so she's been helping, and we're thinking of maybe drawing our own patterns. Well, Nastya was thinking of maybe drawing a pattern. I don't know if I could do as well as she could, but we were thinking of like some Ukrainian national themes and stuff like that, and like kind of like modernize them, and so that could be a background. Yeah. Nastya is so talented, yeah. But now I need, so like the thing is, I need one type of thumbnail for evening lives, one type of thumbnail for like this, for these like during the day lives, another type of thumbnail for Saturday lives, and then thumbnails for videos, and I'm just like, ah. And you would think that this is easy. It's not easy. It takes like an hour plus to create it from scratch. If you have like if you have one pre-made and then you just like change things around, then no. Привіт від Уліка і Юліка, привіт. And for me, it's like I can't just, you know, I can't just use like a whatever thumbnail. I can't just be like, ah, whatever. You know, graphic designer in me is like, no, it has to be perfect, because if it's not perfect, I can't live with it. Sinister. See, come here. Hey. Gremlin. Gremlin. So you need a brand book? Nah, not really a brand book, but yeah, kinda, a little bit. I'm also trying to change, now I'm like, I'm sure you've noticed that I change my TikTok profile picture like once a week or something like that, and I'm sure that it bothers everybody quite a bit because you can't find, you know, like it's harder to find. And I'm about to do that with YouTube too, because here's the thing, I'm indecisive. I do need a brand book, because I'm like, okay, well, I love the logo of the Ukrainian American Spy, but I kind of want to be wearing the Ukrainian American Spy hoodie on it. And then my YouTube, I'm just like, I want to do like, I want to change that look too, because now I'm not sure if I like the green, and I'm just like, oh my god, why am I a graphic designer on 5 different social media platforms that all require like little backgrounds and stuff, because I'm just like, I can't. This is too much stuff that I need to like and agree on. How is your dad doing? My dad is good, thank you so much. He's he actually was calling just now, so I'm gonna get off in like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm gonna call him back. Sina, come here. Sin, hey. Sin, treats? I just gave her a treat. I can go down rabbit holes with colors and design. Yeah, me too. I made one for my organization. They're so fun to make for my OCD brain, but that's a good thing. See, if somebody orders, if somebody needs like branding for me, I'm like, oh yes, oh my gosh, I see it for you, right? But if it's for me, I'm like, but do I want to be green? Do I want to be yellow? Do I want to be blue? Do I want to be orange? Do I want to be modern? Do I want to be retro? Do I want to be... Because it's like, you know, it's really, it's hard to sort of, it's the same as like, I have the hardest time creating my own portfolio, because it's like, well, there are so many different sides of me, right? And I'm like, I don't know if I want to show it up from this side or from that side or from that side. It's like, what do I do here? Yeah. Violet sky. I could be hurtful, I could be purple, I could be anything you like. See, Jason, you get me. Anytime somebody says something that sounds like a song, I just start singing. I could be brown, I could be blue, I could be violet sky, I could be hurtful, I could be purple, I could be anything you like. Yes, of course I support LGBTQIA+. Why wouldn't I support? I support people, and I support people being themselves and people being happy. Oh no, I haven't talked about it yet. I'm going to talk about it at 9:30 during our usual news cycle, but Macron standing, coming out of the hotel and being like, I want to give my all to Ukrainian people, or whatever he said. It's like, dude, like, yeah, maybe give some weapons to Ukrainian people, maybe stop buying Russian gas, maybe stop defending Putin, you know, and then you're not going to have to stand in a Kyiv hotel and basically be like, Ukrainian people. Like, disgusting. Yeah, I wish Macron never came to Kyiv, honestly. I did not, you know, like, I didn't need him there, like, at all. I didn't ask for him. Yeah, Macron is disgusting. Yeah, that's what I wonder. I wonder what Russia has in Macron, because otherwise, like, I don't see why he would be behaving like such an idiot. you know, one of the things I do like really like about Zelensky is that he doesn't like, he's very honest. So it's not like he's just gonna be standing there and being like fake nice. He's like, nah, I don't want to be here. Yeah, of course he wanted votes for his election. See him? Come here. Sin. Hey. Sin. I do need to go and call my dad. But, he'll be dropping us. No. But before I do go, from Woolcraft. Oh, okay. Before I do go, I'm gonna grab Cindy and I'm gonna show you how Cindy eats a macaroon, because you know it's adorable, and then I'm gonna have to go. See now, what? She's like, oh my gosh, wait, I heard macaron. See now. Yes. Oh my god, you can't see her on YouTube. I wish you could. Wait. Sorry, 1 second. You can just see ears. 1 second. Oh my god. 1 second. Пес, що в мене... Я зараз вам покажу, що пес вміє робити, ви будете в шоці. But... Wait, Cindy, I get it. I know you're... I know. Wait, I know, Sin, okay, wait. Sin, okay. Hey, Sin. No, wait. Sin, first of all. Sin, oh my gosh, stop licking my... Okay, Sin, sit. Slava Ukraini. No, wait. Okay, wait. Okay, wait. Slava Ukraini. Slava нації. Пиздець Російській Федерації. Come on. Good girl. This is Cindy. А картини я сама малювала. Cindy was like, just give me the freaking macaron. No longer a separatist dog. Yeah, she's learning. But yeah, that is Cindy, and that is Cindy's, So I don't know if they're green tea because they're doggy macarons. I don't know what their flavor is, but this is Cindy the Star, who still work hard for food. Listen, she eats so much. Dog cleared my skin, fixed my credit score. Oh my god. Listen, Cindy is available for corporate events and parties. Work it, babe. Pay your rent. But for someone who was asking me about Rotary Club and about Midwest, like, hey, if you wanted somebody to speak in Ukraine, I mean, I'm in the U.S., I'm in New York, so I would love to, honestly. So if you felt like that would be helpful, I would love to. Very little, no sugar. Oh my god. I don't know. Somebody said that they wanted me to, that they wish I could speak at their Rotary Club, and then they were like, "Oh, if you're ever in the Midwest," and I was just like, "I can come to the Midwest." I mean, I would love to speak about Ukraine at any sort of like a public speaking event. I'll do it. It's important. Yeah, I would love to. That's like the thing. If you guys wanted me to speak at an event somewhere about Ukraine or something like that, I'll do it. Like I'm not very comfortable with public speaking, but I'll do it because I think it's important. Like if there are people willing to listen about Ukraine, I'll do it anywhere in the United States. Okay. Справи добре, але я маю тут дзвонити татові. Okay, bye guys. I gotta call my dad, so I will speak to you at 9:30 as per usual, and we'll go through the news cycle. Thank you so much. We love you, Cindy. Say goodbye. Cindy's like, are you giving me another macaron? І тобі дуже гарного дня. Well, тобі на добраніч. Bye, guys. Okay, let me turn off. Oh, how do I don't know how to turn this off. Bye, guys. And now, how do I end this one? See, because I have no idea. Lol.